Okay, so welcome. Good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you are coming from. My name is Mary Minnich, and I am an account executive here for the DMSchedules team. I'm a previous educator and absolutely love teaching middle schoolers until I had my own. So I love to partner with districts now to just transform their scheduling process from a headache into a strategic asset. And today, Charity and I will be walking you through our platform and sharing some key strategies to help you get the most out of your school day. So, Charity, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yes, thank you, Mary. I am Charity Uzoewulu, and I'm an account executive here with DMSchedules, and I have over 15 years experience as an educator. I loved most of it. Scheduling was one of the things that was not so lovely. I wish they had had something like DMSchedules when I was in education, but I'm here to support now, and I love that. And so I just want to, really dive into what you all are dealing with, struggling with, and needing help with, and possibly supporting you with finding the appropriate solution. So just happy to be here today, happy to have you all here, and look forward to the upcoming conversation.
Awesome. And with that, just let me remind you all this is a coffee chat, okay? So we have our coffee cups and it is informal. You may take yourself off mute and ask questions as we're talking. You're not interrupting us. We really want to make this a time that's very valuable for you. So you can put questions in the chat if you're on the shyer side. Otherwise, take yourself off mute and let's just keep talking. So what we're going to cover is introductions. We've already had that. And then we're going to go over our DM scheduling solutions that we offer, scheduling software overview, just taking a look at pain points and use case scenarios. Then if we don't get to all of those questions that you've been asking us, we'll have an actual Q&A session, and then we'll just talk about next steps. Does that sound good to everybody? All right.
All
Awesome.
right.
So as you can see here from the examples on the slide, we have quite a bit of experience. So over 20 years of experience and hundreds of district partners that we have worked with. And so what we do is really understand the unique puzzles that you're dealing with every day. So you might be a small rural school or you might be a really large urban district. And we have been working with all of them for over 20 years. So we can really help you turn those daunting scheduling hurdles into wins for your staff and students. And specific to scheduling, what we offer are three kind of different paths. So if you already have a good idea of how you want your schedule to look like, our scheduling software might be all that you're needing. If you're needing some guidance, however, and would like support figuring out what our must-haves are in the midst of your like-to-haves, then our upcoming Elementary Scheduling Institute might be a better option for you. And that's actually kicking off in just a few weeks. So it's an in-depth, hands-on professional development training program to enable your team to design strategic, student-centered elementary schedules that are aligned to your district priorities. And again, we're kicking it off in just a few weeks. It starts on April 7th, and there would be 3 sessions along with coaching calls with our scheduling experts. And you would also get the software with that for 1 year. So that might be a really good option for you. Um, Finally, a third path is if you really need some deeper strategic scheduling support and that analysis on your school day structure and even staffing needs, then you really might be interested in learning more about our consulting services. So I can tell you more about that a little bit later, but I wanted to spend most of our time together just with conversation. So let's share some pain points and kind of difficult scenarios that we've heard about on our calls. You can share maybe some of the scenarios that you've been facing. And I'm going to really turn it over to Charity now so she can go into the software and then I'll ask her about a few pain points I've heard recently, but I'll let her kind of drive the car now. So Charity, over to you.
So I had the pleasure. I see Donna. How are you, Donna? I had the pleasure of meeting with Donna not too long ago, and we had a great conversation about all things scheduling. And so, with the schedule, in my conversation with principals, I've been learning a lot about what they need, what they're looking for, and just quite simply why they choose to reach out to us. And so, one of the main things is time. From what I'm hearing, principals are spending anywhere from 60 to 80 hours scheduling. So I just wanted to know, is that, pretty common? Am I hearing the right thing? you all know you're in it. So would love to hear from you about that, how much time you're spending with scheduling.
We do schedule. I don't want to say for most of the summer, but a lot of times it is a majority of our summer that is taken to hand schedule.
We hear a lot of post-it notes and Excel spreadsheets and Google Sheets is the primary medium. Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah. And then as far as, having all of that time spent scheduling, you know, some principals are like, I would like to have the time back to be able to focus on other initiatives. Especially since there's so many questions about being able to meet instructional requirements. So a lot of districts are getting pushback or a lot of strongly suggested goals where it consists of time allocation and making sure you add, X amount of minutes into your already jam-packed schedule. So has anybody experienced that's on this call?
Sounds like it. I see some nods.
Yeah.
And I was actually just going to add a recent conversation I was having with the district is just the need for common planning time. They had that in, the past, but they had kind of lost it with the additional initiatives. So wondering, if you could speak a little bit to how we could ensure there would be some common planning time in the schedule.
So with the scheduling software, there are a few ways to manage either having, your time spent scheduling drastically reduced and or ensuring that you have common planning time. And so one of the ways that we help to reduce time spent scheduling is the fact that a lot of the information is easy to just copy it into another, day or into another grade level. So for example, here, let's go to here. So we can drag and drop these blocks into place. Well, once you build out your instructional day for third grade, now you can copy that into other grade levels and or you can copy that information into other days of the week. So it really keeps you from building out your Monday schedule for K5 or K6 or pre-K8 to being able to just copy that information over. And let's say on Tuesday, we want to make an adjustment to our small group time, like so, and then that automatically updates on the homeroom schedule. So it's so easy to get the things that you need done with the software versus, okay, now I have to go update in 20 other tabs. Because that's just how it works with Google Sheets and Excel. Another way in which we help to save time is once you complete this schedule here, all of these tabs auto generate schedules for you. So you don't now have to go and create 15 teacher schedules, compile all of your grade level schedules and then make adjustments. You have your team schedules that are here, even rooms. And this is really cool because this came about as a result of the feedback we were getting from users. So there are a lot of schools that are limited with space. They need to make sure that they are, managing locations in their building strategically. And I don't know about the rest of you, but a lot of people have the gym, which is a catch-all, or the cafeteria, which is a catch-all. And so with the software, you can assign rooms. Let me show you how to do that. I'm going to double click on this instructional block, and then we can add a room. So we have a drop down of the rooms that we've included, and that will allow us to have more visibility into how the space is being used in our buildings. And so here in the rooms tab, we can use the drop down to click on any of those rooms that we've created in the platform, and we can see who's assigned to that at what time.
Charity, would you mind going into a clear schedule or maybe even before that?
Yeah.
I'm going to hog the time unless you all jump in. So feel free to say, hey, Mary, I want to talk about this. But I wonder if you could go over just parameters that you can give to each of the subjects so that they can kind of see how you allot that time.
Yeah, definitely. So in district setup, when we have districts that use the software, we can actually build out all of the grades that are evident in the district. So that way, no matter what, if there's an elementary school that's K-5, if there's an elementary school that's pre-K-6, we can accommodate that by including the grades here in the setup. But what's most important to the districts that we speak with is being able to allocate certain minute requirements in the setup of our account. And so here, this is where we're able to see the grade levels and then the required instructional periods for our district. So this is where we can add those periods at the district level that we have requirements for. So if across Kearney, since most of you are from Kearney, if you have a 90-minute literacy block that's required by, for all of your schools, we can go ahead and build that out here. So what happens is when the school principals from that district are building their schedules, they can't build a schedule that doesn't adhere to that requirement. So it's like one less thing to think about when it comes to making sure that your schedule adheres to those requirements that you all are having to be held accountable for. And then within your schedule, so I'm going to go into this schedule, and in setup, same thing can happen here. We have period allocation here, which is where you literally create the building blocks. And so you can add a period and then make sure you include those minute requirements for that period.
And I just saw you have, can you go to plan versus scheduled where it shows you if you've gone over?
Yep.
Like what you just said right there. Yeah. Okay.
So it's always trying to give you some backup as far as making sure that you've planned according to what you've scheduled. And so it's going to show you that here in plan versus schedule, it's going to give you the caution marks. But again, you're the human in this, so you know whether or not you've actually gone over. And I say that because sometimes when we look at plan, down at the bottom, we get principals who are like, oh my gosh, I went over X amount of minutes. And we're like, that's okay. Because guess what? Maybe on Wednesday, when you have SEL added to your instructional day, it may look as though you've gone over, but you haven't, because here you're going to build every block that you need for your schedule. But in your actual schedule, you may replace your social studies block with SEL on Wednesday. So technically you didn't go over your minute allocation. It just looks like that because you've literally built out every block, instructional block for your schedule. But it's helpful in making sure that we're staying within a reasonable required minute allocation for our school.
So now that I keep asking her to, show me all these things, I want to stop. Questions that you all have, someone that's actually doing this right now on a daily basis. What questions do you have that we can kind of answer right here and now while you have us?
So, if you build this out as a district, and we have different things happening in the different buildings, you can do that. By just manually putting in those parameters for a period. So like if we have a pilot running, or we have a different special ed schedule for a specific support that's being offered or something, we can do that outside of what the parameters are that are already in place.
So yes and no. So if the parameters have been set here for those, like those core instructional periods, but you want to add in a separate program or an extension program, you can still build that, but those required core classes would still need to adhere to these minute allocations. But you can customize your individual school schedules based on what you all need.
Okay, so even though these are built in, we can still customize.
That's right.
This is just to show you. So yeah, right. it might look different for what your needs are. Yeah.
Right.
Like I see that you have K through 5 and all the allocation. That makes a lot of sense. But my question is, like, if you have a special ed teacher, how is that fitting in? Like, is it different staff? Like, how are those special ed, ASI, like our academic teachers supporting? And where does that show up on the schedule, or is it a separate piece?
Yes, good question.
Good segue. I was going to ask you about that.
So you can add in your staff members here, and that allows you to either when you're going through the setup and you're doing the period allocation, so you can build that out and then see your plan versus schedule. But with your grades and sections, we can actually assign the teachers who support that grade level section here. So because you've added all of your staff here, we can now use the drop down to add them here. Now for your special education, there are a couple of ways in which we can do that. So with the intervention and enrichment block, you can actually build out time in your schedule that's specific to MTSS type supports. And this is where you can assign those teachers who will be considered, service providers or interventionists, and or maybe your paras that support those interventions for that class. So you can assign them to an intervention block. The other thing that you can do is with, like here we have, small group instruction. And maybe there is a special education service provider that pushes into that classroom. So you can add that person's name here and then make sure to include the room. If they're pulling that student out to a different location for supports, you can add the other location. So that way, Miss Jones is working with little Brian in, like one of those little side rooms for reading support. So you can show that on the elementary side, but we have special education. And I know you mentioned earlier, Karen, that is there another, layer to this? And so the special education allows you to do what you just saw and more. So this is where you're actually going to build out and manage the schedules of all of your service providers. But before I go into that, any other questions, or are other people seeing that as a need to be able to manage within their schools and districts? Here, this is a snapshot of what it would look like once those service providers have been trained and they have gone in and they've created their schedules. So we can see at a glance how many students they've scheduled. We can have a list of unscheduled students. And what's good about this is it takes you directly to that list. So we can go ahead and start scheduling those students immediately. Let me go back here. Special education.
Now, are teachers, special education teachers expected to schedule themselves, or is this something the district can do at a district level?
Yep, you can do either one. So some districts have their special education service providers be trained and they go in and create their schedules and manage it. And then their administrators are able to oversee or, have conversations about what they've scheduled. In other districts, they choose to have their director of special education or whoever is working to manage those schedules, they'll create the schedule. So it really depends on what you all want as a district.
It's just like a level of license access. So they might just have a read only, or they would have an admin account depending on what you want for them.
Right.
So our extra service providers might have 60 minutes. They might have 80 minutes a block. Where would that show up for this district?
Yeah. So for the special education side, depending on how let's see. So here, if we need to adjust I can move this over.
So you're looking right now, just to clarify, Charity, for my own knowledge, right? So Gertrude is a provider.
Right.
And we're taking a look at the students that she is seeing.
Right. Exactly.
Correct? Okay.
And so each of these blocks is either a direct activity, meaning they're working directly with students, or it's indirect, like you see travel or lunch, or if you include IEP meetings, that will be evident in the schedule. So as far as the sessions, the teacher schedules are going to look like this. So it will mainly comprise of the student sessions where they're supporting students with interventions or supports. And so that's where you'll be able to see how much time has been allocated or given to that student's instructional session or support session. Now, if this information is from the IEP, that will show up here in this block. But let me go into student setup.
And hang on, can we go back, sorry, real quick before you leave that?
Yep.
Because that's my favorite screen.
Yep.
So the homeroom schedule, if you can click on someone, the homeroom schedule, just because, guys, I didn't get this. So just so you see, this is a student homeroom schedule. So you can make sure that students are taken out when they should be taken out and they're not missing any core instruction. So that was it. Okay, carry on.
Okay. So here, when we're confirming services, so basically this is the list of students that are assigned to me as the service provider. So what I now have to do is confirm services. So we're going to have the information that's directly related to their IEP uploaded into our platform. However, what if the student needs behavior support or reading intervention that's not included on the IEP? We can actually add a service here and then include the amount of minutes that frequency and the amount of minutes that are needed to help that student reach their instructional goals. And this is a way to be able to track that service time for those students.
Is that manually uploaded, or is that something that can be uploaded by Genesis? Or
we do have a bulk upload that our IT team will work on at the start of you all using the platform. But then after that, it would be if you need to make any changes, it would be a more manual process.
However, that is dependent on the level of relationship you have with your IT team. So we can do a more automated upload too. We need to connect with them to make sure that we have this unique identifier. I won't get into the details, but it is possible. It just depends on the level of collaboration, shall I say, that we have with the IT team.
Yeah.
Does that help answer that question, Karen?
It does, because we have, I think one of our challenges in Kearney is that we're looking to try and put in this one period and be really strategic about how we're utilizing our services. But we're also implementing a new ELA program, which some of our special ed teachers for those specific grades will have possibly longer time with those grades to see how that works out. And, so I'm just trying to see how that would be scheduled. And if it was a manual process, like adding each student, that I think that would be almost like too much for our district.
So we can integrate with Clever and also have that CSV file with the your special education kind of platform. So that can happen, like as Charity said.
Yeah.
But we're working towards working with IT team so it can be more overnight uploads if necessary.
Do you work with ClassLink?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yep.
So
I'm sorry, Donna.
I was going to say, so this special ed platform is basically more for calculating minutes and being able to oversee the IEP portion of it and services to the students, not necessarily the scheduling of the classes. We can still schedule our special ed classes through the main.
That's right. That's exactly
correct.
Right.
Okay. And it provides, like, if you don't mind, Charity, since you're on that one, going through some of the reporting available to the district, just because that can be really helpful. I'm not sure exactly who all is in the call, but a lot of times central office is looking for some data that you can really see pretty easily here in the platform.
Yeah. And so this is what I was referencing earlier about activities report. And so a lot of districts are using this as a CYA. We can verify that we've given this amount of time to direct service. We can verify that we've scheduled this amount of time for IEP services. Even looking at login activity, we can confirm that all of our service providers have logged into this platform and scheduled their students. And then we can say, hey, with confidence, every student has been scheduled because according to our unscheduled student list, we have no students left to appear on this list. So it really allows you to have checks and balances with making sure that we all are following the requirements for our student services. And then with feedback, I'm hoping that you all feel motivated and encouraged to give feedback because our system is not, stale in the sense that we give you the program as is and we never do anything to make it better. So if there's anything that you all see within the platform that you feel would make either your scheduling process more efficient, easier, even if it's cutting down the amount of clicks between a screen or, with information, we take that and we actually include it on the roadmap. And I'm going to the learning report here because this is the result of feedback. So districts were like, we need this reporting when we're having these meetings. And, could you all build this out for us? And we did that. So the learning environment report shows you a breakdown of your general ed versus inclusion and pullout. And you can drill down and look at this information per school, per grade level. And then at the grade level, you can see this information breakdown per student. Something else that we are working on as a result of feedback is duty scheduling. Anybody in here in need of that?
Yes.
I could see
Sorry, I couldn't mute.
That would be helpful, especially if we're looking to try and integrate, not maybe next year or the next couple of years, we would like to try and integrate like administrative prep. Teachers have lunch duties, teachers have before and after school duties that principals dole out. So yes, it would be helpful.
Okay.
And I heard another, I think Ms. Tog was also saying yes. So fill us in on additional needs if Sherry doesn't go over that. But yeah, can you explain a little bit more about the upcoming excitement with duties?
Okay. Yeah. So with duty scheduling, this is really awesome because, again, like you were saying, Karen, a lot of districts have requirements for duties and they need to better manage their duties so that they have visibility and transparency into how people are being utilized in their districts. Because a lot of schools were having conversations around we need more people versus having visibility into how staff was actually being assigned and then being able to make better staffing decisions as a result of having that data. And so duties came about as a result of schools needing to have more specifics regarding being able to schedule their staff for duties. So that's coming. That'll be here this summer. And so that will be ready to go. And that will be an additional component to the scheduling of your homeroom instructional periods. And then on the special education side, we have the side-by-side schedule. I know it's little.
I'm sorry, it's so small. We tried to get it bigger and it wasn't working, but
yeah. But what you'll see is that all of our service provider schedules, you will now be able to see side by side. So you could better, reassign, manage, schedule those schedules at a glance versus having to, go into each schedule individually. So a lot of districts and schools were asking about, hey, does AI help? Is there any type of AI support? Our team listened. And so we now have Hallie. And so Hallie is going to support you with all things scheduling in the sense that you can work with Hallie to build out your schedules. So Hallie is like your go-to scheduling pro that is there to answer any questions that you have about building schedules within the platform.
And if Hallie isn't enough, we have real people that will support you with implementation as well. So we will make sure, this is wild to me. I come from curriculum where it's an additional cost for implementation support. And so I was thrilled and surprised when it was all included here. So that's what you will also get along with the software is real people that will support you throughout the process.
That's right. And speaking of people that will support you, we have an option for you all to have your schedules built by a member of our team. So we have schedulers that will actually take the information from your current schedule or the schedule of your dreams, and they will build it in the platform for you. And so all you have to do is meet with them to get the information shared, give them some more specifics or requirements outside of what you've already created, and then they will build the schedule for you.
So along those lines, if we are looking to try out different schedules, like right now we would kind of be in the like the woodshedding phase, right? Is it possible to use this program to come up with different things and what they would look like while we are in that discovery process?
Yes. Thank you, Donna, for asking that. So the scenario feature will allow you to do just that. And I think Karen was speaking to this earlier too. But if you all know that you have requirements coming down the pipeline and you're like, what does this look like? How do we build this out as a prototype for our schedule to see what will work? Scenario will allow you to do that. And there's no limit to how many scenarios you can create within the platform to get that done. So now we can be even more efficient with our scheduling planning meetings to be able to see, okay, if we add in this special education support period, or if we add in this WIN period, what does that actually look like in the schedule? So now we can start to have some real conversations about the impact of those changes within the schedule.
Hi, I'm Yvonne Callie. I'm from Kearney with Donna. We work on the schedule for hours and hours during the summertime.
Yep.
I heard. People think we're off for the summer. We're definitely not.
No.
We also have a bilingual ESL academic support instructors. Besides, of course, the special ed, we have inclusion, pull out, the whole business. Yep. Normally the principals, so let me give you a little idea of what goes on in the summer. We all this is done on paper first, and then we then meet with the special ed director, bilingual teachers, and they all have pieces of it, and then we interweave all this stuff, and it's just mind-boggling. Would it be better? I mean, I know we're not at that phase right now. Would it be better for the other directors to do their schedules in your platform, and then, in other words, then fit them into the teacher schedules? Or is it better to do the teacher schedules first and then fit everything else in? I don't know which way to go with it.
You know what, Yvonne, that's a really good question, because we do have districts that reach out asking, do we have to have all of this scheduled before we get our service providers in there to schedule? Technically, you don't. As long as you have a start and end time to your day, you can build out your schedule for EL, for ESL, for any type of related services. You can build that out in the special education platform. Does it help to have this built out? In some regard, yes, because those service providers can see, like, say, for instance, if you have a requirement that says, hey, you can't push in and pull out during literacy block. Well, because they can see when the literacy block is taking place, then they know to schedule accordingly. But do you have to have this scheduled? No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for us? Good questions. I love it.
It looks to me like you have it scheduled by grade level. But because we have the different needs, our teachers sometimes have different, like their literacy block might be in the morning and in the afternoon. So we wouldn't be able to necessarily have all of our kindergarten have the same schedule due to the need for pushing in and pulling out and these different services. So do you do that by grade level, or you can have by teacher? I'm seeing.
So I'm glad you asked that, because we have this feature, this split feature, for that reason. So, or we can, let me move this one here, and then we can move this one here. So you see, I'm working with all kindergarten and every section. It's okay if the, instructional periods aren't happening at the same time, because you can schedule it as such. So if we need to split a period, we can do that. I can split this and move this here, but I'm still showing when I hover over this that I've allocated 90 minutes to that block. So you have so much flexibility with how you can arrange your schedules depending on what you need to happen for your instructional day.
Yeah, because I think that's the bulk of the work, is really trying to figure out how to make sure that all students are receiving their services and not all at the same time.
Exactly.
And that's our challenge with the WIN, because we want to be able to provide students with what they need and have everybody on deck during that time. But everybody has a different schedule, so it's really challenging.
Yeah, definitely. And when you're doing this, it'll give you a validate and finalize checklist where you'll be able to see, okay, did we schedule this correctly? Are there any scheduling conflicts? Did we overschedule somebody? You can see that here. We can see that in the special, let me go back to one that's finished. We can look at staff utilization here for our specials. That way we can see if a person has a lot of zeros, what's going on? Let's reassign that person and make sure they're actually with students versus, just being a floater in the building. So again, it really takes the conversation from, we need more people, to let's better manage and utilize the folks we have.
This could make their lives easier. We could get things done that we find very important, right? So
Well, and I love that you're considering this as a district because a lot of times schools will purchase on their own, which is great. They see the need, but everyone kind of works in their own silos. And so it's great when all the schools are talking the same language with schedules so they can all kind of really brainstorm together and figure out like what do we do in the situation. And it's just so much more visibility that way as well. So it's good.
Can you speak to the Teams button? Because in our middle school, we have Teams. I don't know how that works with your platform.
Yes. So right here, this is the schedule for one section of fourth grade. So this is their entire weekly schedule right here. So we allow that to be possible with the ability to departmentalize within the system. So once you build out your grade levels, you just select your grade level and click set up, and it'll take you through the prompts to go ahead and set that up in the platform.
We do have, that offering if you're needing, if you kind of have cohorts or departmentalization, we can support you in that way as well.
Yes. So here's an example of how we would be able to support period scheduling, which is what you normally see in high school. And then if you're 6, 7, and 8 moving cohorts, we can provide support for scheduling their instructional periods as well.
Okay.
And I think someone had mentioned earlier, if you didn't follow a strict grade level structure, we can actually change this label to fit whatever grouping you have. So,
And same with like the 5-day cycle, you can have letter days and all those things. That's what my school uses. So there's all kinds of different opportunities. And then even with the specials, there's advanced features. So it gets more and more granular as your needs tend to be more complex.
Yeah. So we have enable advanced specials feature, which does what Mary just shared. So we try to meet you wherever you are.
Working with schools and districts across the nation. Like, okay, how do we fit everyone's needs? So, we're getting there, but
exactly.
There's lots of iterations.
We have 6th grade also. How about student schedules? Would this pop out student schedules for 6th grade after we do the teacher schedules and put the kids in the classes?
So kind of, not like not like Power School where it's going to give you a student schedule. But if you know the student's homeroom teacher, you would essentially be able to print that student schedule.
Could you share a little bit about sustainability over time? Knowing obviously that this software incurs a cost, is this sort of expectation that you're paying that cost every year, or is the expectation, you build it and you can build off of it? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So the pricing is per year. So it's a subscription model. But let's say you go with, this year you want it, but you don't want to actually do the building. You're like, I don't have time to really learn this in that way. I want us to build it I want them to build it for me.
Which is kind of, that's Sherry, just to jump in. I've talked to you, right? So we talked about that. Yeah. That is an option. And that's what your colleague, I think, has right now. So go ahead, Sherry.
Yeah. And so once you do that, the first year, the following year, you can actually remove that service and then just go with the license and support.
Got it.
Is it a site license or a district license or a user
site license? A site license, but we can also support the entire district with licenses for each of their site locations.
And, generally, if there is district-wide implementation, there's usually a reduction that kind of goes along with it. So there are volume reductions as well as multi-year options as well. So we're trying to figure out different ways in which, I know sometimes there's one year you get this great grant and you might not get that the next, so how do we kind of help you get the most value?
Yes. And we have a referral program. So if you know of, you have family members who are educators or you have colleagues that you would like to, share this with, please feel free, because a lot of our clients are friends of, or they knew someone, and that's why they reached out to us.
Is there a benefit to that?
There is. There is. So you get a price reduction on your renewal if that person signs on with us.
Cool.
Yep.
Charity, I'm just going to jump in. Hi, my name is Matt Sleece, assistant principal at Lincoln Middle School. So just off of Dr. Callie's question about the 6th grade, like printing student schedules, and you said you could print them basically only based off the homeroom teacher. right?
Right.
And that's because whatever the homeroom teacher is, you're just printing her exact schedule, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Because here at the middle school, right? One, we don't have homerooms, but also all of our students, their schedules are different. They're not following one particular teacher.
Right.
And a lot of times when we run our schedule during the summer, we have conflicts that come up because a lot of times it is, say, the ELL population based on the classes that we have. Students can only take those classes during certain periods.
Got it.
You know what I mean? Like they might have beginner ELL, they might have high advanced. So there's only certain periods, but it won't run a student schedule. It's only based on the teacher's schedule, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. And that's where it does have some limitation with those middle school schedules. While we are able to support cohort scheduling with middle school and or period-based scheduling, it's not going to give you that level of detail that you're looking for with those individual student schedules.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so Charity and myself are happy to connect with you afterwards. It's been a pleasure to talk all things schedules with you all. I've learned a lot. Hopefully you all have learned a lot. Thank you, Charity.
Yeah. Thank you, Mary.
And you all are in contact with either one of us. So we'll be in touch, but if you do have any stirring questions, feel free to reach out on your own as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.